Good evening and welcome to round 9 of the USAC 1974 Championship, coming tonight from the Tricky Triangle at Long Pond. I complete brain fade. In Pennsylvania, about 2.5 hours outside of New York, and Tricky Triangle so called because you need to compromise your setups to be able to do well here in any way, shape or form, as many of our drivers has already encountered in practice for this weekend's event. If we have a quick look at the track as such while we wait for qualifying to get underway on the track, we're at the Pocono International Raceway, as I mentioned, called the Tricky Triangle. It's a 2.5 mile tri-oval, 3 turns, full stop, no matter what NASCAR has said in the past. And we'll be going for 200 laps, which will equal 500 miles. And it will be very, very tiring for all our drivers tonight, as they will have to work very hard both to keep the engine underneath them and keep the cars on the track, because there's many hazards along the way. To have a quick look at the points as well, just to remind us of the way the points are awarded for the 500-mile races. The winner takes home with them 1,000 points, and it's 800 points for second, 700 for third, 600 for fourth, 500 for fifth, 400 for sixth, and then it goes down by 50 from 7th to 12th, starting at 300 and ending at 50 points. And the championship standings after round 8 at Michigan. David Yates is in the lead at 2,500 points, 500 points ahead of Cesar Schlapinski, who had a lackluster event last time out, and he'll be hoping to regain some momentum in this championship. I can see that he is currently top of the timetables in pre-practice ahead of qualifying here tonight. Thiago Canola is third in the championship, and unfortunately, as far as I can see, it's not on the 7. I believe he has said that he can't make tonight's race. 1,960 points, and that could be a big swing in the championship fight for him. Same for Jacob Ferguson, who also can't make the race tonight. He is fourth on 1,935 points. And then there's a nigh on 900 point drop to fifth for Ray Riddle at 1,040 points. So very much an opportunity for Jakes and Schlapinski to eke out an even bigger lead in the championship hunt, and also an opportunity for Ray Riddle to close in on the top 4 in the championship standings. And just to remind ourselves of the upcoming events this and next month, Grande Premio de Portugal goes ahead in the 1991 Formula 1 Championship, round 13, on September the 27th, which is 2 weeks from now. So next weekend we will have a bit of a break, but stay tuned, because that Portugal Grand Prix, which is in 2 weeks, will be one stonking event. Then on October the 4th we have round 10 of 13 in this 1974 USAC Championship, and the Tony Bettenhausen 200, which I'm sorry to say I haven't double checked where that event takes place, so my apologies for not knowing that. And then on October 18th, so the week following the Tony Bettenhausen 200, we have Gran Premio Tío Pepe de España, the first ever Formula 1 event held at Circuit de Catalunya, which will be round 14 of our 1991 Formula 1 Championship. And it looks like out on track the action is shortly going to go ahead for qualifying. So let's see if we can make our way there. And here we are, just sitting at one of the trackside cameras as the last few cars, so as someone has had a bit of a moment in turn 2 tunnel turn. And now we have the qualifying session beginning. Good evening everyone watching as well. It's very nice to have you with us. Both KO and Jason obviously. You can see Berlin as well. Good evening, good day or good morning everyone. And for sure this is going to be one great race. This track lends itself to some close and hard action. Modern day events often leading to some very good action. Unfortunately, the track has, as far as I'm aware, has been taken off the IndyCar schedule for next year, but we can always hope that it'll come back at some point in the coming years. So we jump on board with Dave Miller, so we'll ride with him for a lap here in qualifying and see what the track looks like from the driver's point of view into tunnel turn. A turn very similar to Indianapolis, with a big crest on the exit, very easy to unsettle the car and spin up the tires there. Into turn 3, very similar to the turns at Milwaukee. Relatively easy on the entry, but then on the exit there's a bump about here, which can very easily unsettle the car, and the wall is not far away. So down the start-finish straight, across the finish line, a very long start-finish straight, into turn 1, a turn very similar to the ones at Trenton, which we visited earlier this season. Were a little bit wide for Dave, but it looked like he kept his speed up fairly well, a little bit loose on the exit there. Held on to the car very nicely. Back down to tunnel curve, turn 2. Pretty nice attack over Devil's Elbow, as I like to call that little crest. Then into turn 3, once again to finish off the lap. You can hear that, really having to be careful applying the throttle, but Dave, the first one to set the lap time, a 51.0. I don't think that'll be good enough for pole. We've seen laps in the 49 region, which we just got to see here, at a 49.5 for David Yates, taking the pole for now. And Anders Nilsson has proven to have some very good pace as well, but not a very good opening qualifying lap. Oh, Jason White with a very quick opening lap there at a 49.593, just 47 thousandths of a second behind David Yates. And not far behind either is Brian Yannick, the Detroitian, also putting in a very good show here. And our drivers have 2 hot laps, 2 flying laps to set a qualifying time to get a grid position. With it obviously being 500 miles, the qualifying isn't as important as it has been elsewhere during the season, as Anders Nilsson has taken pole by 68 thousandths of a second. Let's see what Brian Yannick is able to do. He stays He stays 5th. He improved his lap time, but not his position, unfortunately, as someone has just joined the server. Jason White currently 4th, as Cesar Schlapinski with a stonking opening qualifying lap at a 49.297. And it looks like he's going even quicker on his second lap here. Very nice line through tunnel turn there. Up about 1.5 tenths here. So it looks like Cesarish may very well take pole here in the Foyt-powered Coyote. Anders Nilsson currently 2nd, with Jakes 3rd, White 4th, Yannick 5th, Ibanez 6th, Hackman 7th, David Sabre in 8th, Alberto Quino down to 10th, so Ray Ridol up into 8th on what I believe is his first qualifying lap. Let's see if he is able to put any kind of improvement on. He's up 1.12 of a second, as Jules Bouchard is into the server as well. He was not in here a few minutes ago, so that's nice to see him in here. So up 3 tenths for Ray. I believe that could climb him up a couple to 4 positions on the grid. Yeah, that would make getting 2 positions, and he is up to 6th grid position for this race. Also good to see Jukka Mätonen back. He's missed a few events, but now back. We'll see whether he is able to finish the whole race, as he is struggling with a bit of back pain. But hopefully that'll be fine for this race. As at least I am very happy to see Peter Lavach back racing in these cars in the Fred Gerhardt entered machine. Bruno Pagiola, a newcomer to us here at ISO, is making his debut in the USAC Championship, driving for Robert L. Fletcher. Nice to see Bruno in here. Felipe Marazzi back racing. He didn't partake in the F1 event earlier. My apologies, my throat is a little bit dry. And Porfirio Santos is, I believe, making his debut in the USAC Championship as well, driving for Gore Distributing. And Simon Wattman here for Eldon Rasmussen. Nice to see Simon back in racing. And Eric Plana and Jules Bouchard also partaking. So there are a few news items for us to look at ahead of this particular race, where Felipe Marazzi joins Pat Patrick Racing and Alberto Equino moves to Penske Racing. A bit of a step up for Alberto Jr. I think he'll be very happy with that car, as I believe will be Felipe Marazzi in the Pat Patrick car. Peter Lavach joins Fred Gerhardt, and Jules Bouchard joins the John Martin entered machine. And also Jason White has kindly provided us with a few so-called Jason's keys to the race. One of the main parts for this race, and the 500 miles especially. Stay on the lead lap, because around here, if you end up a lap down, it'll be very, very tricky indeed to get that lap back. Also, with the slightly new way we have the boost running in these cars, and the way the engines feel now and work now, you need to sort of baby the engine for the opening 400 miles from what I know, you can't really go over 110 degrees Celsius on the oil temperature, which translates to about 230 degrees Fahrenheit. And at least the Foyt engines are also a little bit on the weak side in terms of the revving. If you go over 9,000 revs a bit too often, you will run into quite a bit of problems. And final key to race: don't dice for the sake of dicing. As with many of our races, the opening 400 miles is a bit of transport. You're better off trying to work together and stay on that lead lap instead of trying to fight for every single position you can. But as always, knowing what your strategy is ahead of the race is one thing. Actually following it through is a completely different, because the red mist can very easily swing down upon you as the race gets underway. So we're currently watching Schlapinski, who has pole for this event. And looks like he has some... Actually, he hasn't set a lap time yet, but I noticed there that Alberto Benitez for the Vels Panelli-Jones racing team putting in a pretty decent opening lap on a full tank of fuel and cold tires at a 51.3. Looking at the general race pace laps, we can expect somewhere between low 51s and mid 50s in terms of how quick the drivers will be able to lap this 2.5 mile oval. You can also see here, we get on the correct camera, there we are. As we come onto this front straight, I would expect Ray Riddle to be able to close in quite comprehensively down this straight, as he does indeed. The slipstream and draft on this Pocono track is very hefty indeed, and as you can see, the biggest danger in terms of where you'll blow the engine is at the end of that front straight, as that's where the engine will be under most strain and the biggest bit of trouble will occur. See here Bruno Pagiola in Thiago Canola's Robert L. Fletcher machine in a bit of a dice with a couple of other cars, as David Sabre goes up the inside of Alberto Equino and the Team Penske McLaren, and Alberto trying to cut underneath him towards the exit, not quite able to do so. Now Alberto Jr. goes up the inside down one of the back straights and goes ahead into tunnel turn. Oh yeah, that's I completely forgot. Thank you, Jason. Give me just a moment here and I'll sort one little thing out, which I forgot to do when I set up the visuals for this particular event. If I can get to that as all, that is, when I'm off. I can't. Okay, let's do a quick leave and re-enter here. You'll get a bit of the have the menu music, as it were. Oh, strange. Which may not quite be temporary with the contemporary with the time period we're making, but it certainly puts you in a bit of a driving mood. I've always felt in terms of that menu music. That it is, Geo, and very nice to see that you're able to do a bit of multitasking with this. I hope your book is very good indeed. Okay, here we are, hopefully now they're at least showing, that's good. Pardon the slight hiccup there. As you can see there, Jules Bouchard either trying to get into his pit stall or trying to get out of his pit stall with a bit of a try to get where he needs to be. Ah, now we have a bit better of a shadow going on around the track, that's good. So will have been that my settings were a bit too low. As we mentioned, Jukka Mätänen back racing in the Works McLaren. Certainly showed that he has some decent speed in the car, although as always it might be tricky to make it work during the race, but nice to see him back, and I hope he'll have a good event all around. And in terms of this little fella here, our resident Swiss, David Yunt, I had a bit of a talk with him ahead of the event, and he was feeling his race pace was a little bit off, and also a little bit worried about his gearing, but at least in terms of race pace on a full tank, it looks like he's more or less on the money, as it were. Obviously not front of the field at the moment, but you can always count on David to have a good strategy and a good stay out of trouble strategy on his side, so don't be surprised if you see him in the top 10 at least towards the end of this race. Ah, hi Angel. Okay, Keo, that's quite that I can see why that's very interesting. I personally prefer crimes and detective novels, but everyone to their own preference, I'd say, as the signal has just gone and we are getting ready to head into the race. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to getting this championship back underway. We had a great event last time out at Michigan, and I'm very, very sure indeed that this one will be no less great. As we have Cesar Schlapinski waiting on the grid. Okay, so apologies for that. I'd assume we are waiting for one of our drivers to re-enter for some kind of technical issue. Not sure exactly what that issue will have been, but we will shortly be on the way here. Okay, so it's Richard Wilkes we are awaiting, but he is on his way, so we should shortly be on the way for this 500-mile event. So cars have been allowed out on track while we wait for Richard Wilkes, and as I was saying with a muted microphone, Juha Bos is here racing for leader card races. He has joined late as he was away IRL and doing some important things, but he has been able to join ahead of the race, so I can understand why he's out on track trying to get some much needed track time and getting used to the cars once again. And now we have Felipe Marazzi's new ride for probably the remainder of this championship in the Patrick Racing SDP sponsored Eagle, which surely will serve him very well indeed. As I believe that was that may have been Richard Wilkes rejoining, as we have Brian Yannick heading out for a quick spin, who has Juha Bos heads through. Not sure what that was all about, but into the race session we go. Sounds very good, Angel. Bolognese and in the Vego way is a very great piece of food as well, indeed. So I hope it's very tasty for you and that you will enjoy the show we're able to put on. As we're just waiting for the final cars to head onto the grid, as we have a few left. But on pole for this 500-miler at Pocono, we have Cesar Schlapinski. Second on the grid is Anders Nilsson for Patrick Racing. David Yates lines up third for Dick Simon Racing, with Jason White fourth for Vels Panelli Jones Racing Team. Brian Yannick lines up 5th for Robert L. Fletcher, with Ray Riddall 6th for Val Motor. Alberto Benitez 7th in the second of the Val Spinelli Jones Racing Team cars, both Eagle 74s for this particular event. Adam Hackman lines up 8th for Unlimited Racing Team, and David Sabre is 9th on the grid for All-American Races. Alberto Guino 10th for Roger Penske, and David Yunt just outside the top 10 in qualifying for Pat Patrick Racing. Jukka Matonen 12th for the Works Team McLaren entry, Peter Lavach 13th for Fred Gerhardt, Dave Miller 14th for Al Questo, with Bruno Pagiola 15th for Robert L. Fletcher, Felipe Marazzi 16th in the second or third of the Pat Patrick Racing Team cars, Bruno Chacon 17th for Lindsay Hopkins in the Riley this time around, Porfirio Santos 18th for Gore Distributing, Simon Watman 19th for Eldon Rasmussen, Eric Plana 20th for Jerry O'Connell, Jules Bouchard 21st for John Martin. Juha Bos lines up, I believe, last on the grid in 22nd for Leader Card Races, and Ralph Wilkie, actually someone our friend Bob Wilson knew and had some contact with, which is an interesting bit of extra storyline. If we have a long stir of yellows, I'll bring up some more info on that, as the race has just gone underway and the 500 miles starts right now. We can see that Schlapinski has immediately leaped to a big gap as everyone else heads into turn 1, with Ibanez second and Yates third. And it looks like everyone is trying to get through turn 1. I believe everyone has gotten through turn 1, as Yates wastes no time and heads up into second position. You can see everyone heading through tunnel curve. Oh, someone is up wide there into the wall. I believe that was Simon Watman and possibly Jules Bouchard follow him in there. I'm fairly sure that is what the people that ended up in there, at least. Might have been Eric Plana in the yellow number 4 as he spins going through the final turn 3. Yeah, that looks like a bit of damage, and he's unfortunately heading for retirement. So one retirement very early on in this race, as Porfirio Santos heads inside Simon Watman and takes 20th position away. And Schlapinski still holding on to the lead at the front, with Yates second, and everyone else in the line behind him, as that was Peter Lavach, I think, lining up for a move. Looks like Simon Watman is on the attack against Santos, but not able to make it going into turn 3. And here comes Brian Yannick looking on Ibanez, but I think that was more a case of just getting a bit of cool air and a bit of lesser revs on the engine going into turn 1. As we saw with Ray Riddall in the warm-up, that's one of the most dangerous places in terms of keeping the engine alive. And here goes Equino up the inside of Adam Hackman. So Hackman has dropped way back in the early laps here, down to 16th he goes. And here's Marazzi being passed, by the looks of things, by Chacon. And was that someone with a bit of trouble going into turn 3? No, doesn't look like it, as we can see that Eric Plana unfortunately DNF on the opening lap. So very sorry to see that, but that's just one of those things that can happen, as Cesar Schlapinski is already enjoying a 3-second lead ahead of David Yates. And Anders Nilsson trying to hang on to his rear wing, so Nilsson up to 3rd and Alberto Ibanez down to 4th. Yannick still 5th. Oh, and Matonen and Sabre going side by side through tunnel turn. Oh, just about being able to hold it away from the wall on the exit. Oh, and Sabre still trying to hold on around outside. looks like he'll be able to do it as well, as Schlapinski sets another fastest lap at a 49.8. That's a blistering race pace. As Peter Lavac now is having a bit of a look at Ray Riddall as he's not quite able to make that work. And David Yunt up into 6th here. Looking like there's another battle. I believe that's Jason White on the move, getting past Juha Bos. Juha Bos trying to get past. Bos started last in this race and he's already up to 12th. So already into the points in the leader card races entry. Very impressive indeed. Yes, I believe that's someone's blown engine. Oh no, it's Ray Riddall and Peter Lavac. Oh dearie me, no. And Matanen as well. So Ray Riddall with some hefty damage, and as I mentioned, that was Peter Lavac with a blown engine. Unfortunately, I haven't remembered to activate replay, so I can't show the replay of this. But I'd assume a passing, we saw them go side by side the lap before, and I believe that this time it all went wrong, as Ray Riddall will try to make some repairs to his car. But I am very worried that may be race over for Ray, and clearly race over for Peter, unfortunately. So incredibly no yellow after that. There were quite a few parts on the exit of turn 2 at the tunnel turn, but no yellow. And Yannick up to 4th while all of that went on, so Ibanez down to 5th. Yunt still in 6th with Sabre 7th now. Bos and White up to 8th and 9th respectively. And Bos has gotten by as well. Equino up into 10th with Bruno Pagiola having a very good opening bit to this race, up into 11th, and Dave Miller just inside the points in 12th. Hackman just outside the points in 13th, trying to look for the draft here, I believe. Trying to keep up with the cars in front. Marazzi and Chacon still at it for 14th and 15th now, with Santos and Bouchard now actually battling. So what has happened to Simon? He must have either had a bit of a moment or simply not quite at the same pace as Bouchard and Santos is able to go at the moment. Whereas Bouchard actually strikes the wall on the outside of tunnel turn there. You don't want to do that too many times. That can go very badly indeed. As Hackman now has caught up to Dave Miller actually, and putting him under a bit of pressure. As Pagiola has opened up just a bit of a gap to Dave. That old McLaren, I believe that's an M16B variation of the McLaren. Maybe not running that well along these long straights. You can also see Alberto Benitez actually catching up here to Bos and White, but I know White at least just wants to tag along for the opening bits of this race. And Jukka Matonen unfortunately has retired from this race. So the damage to his car were too heavy, and Ray Riddall now exits the pits, and hopefully with a car that's actually possible to drive, and hopefully he'll be able to last the remaining 484 odd miles that's left in this race. It's actually now Dave Miller has gotten past Pagiola, so sorry I missed that, but Dave Miller up into 11th, and now Pagiola under attack from Adam Hackman. I think for Bruno it's mainly just a case of trying to get to grips with racing, because running on your own and racing these cars is very different indeed, with all the dirty air and the fuel usage and engine, both temperature and in terms of the oil and water to contend with, at the same time as going 200 plus miles an hour. Sabre and Yunt has swapped positions since we last saw them, but it looks like the top 5 is more or less running on their own, and then we have obviously this duo trying to, I'd assume, run as quickly as they can together to not end up a lap down. As is these three, but it looks like the battle for now is here and with Marazzi and Chacon. So let's actually jump back with Chacon and Marazzi for a little bit. And Bravidall a few laps down obviously, but it looks like his car has stood up fairly well and or the team has been able to repair the car to a decent level as Bruno now makes his move on Marazzi and goes up into 14th position. And here's Riley. And Marazzi immediately on the counter-attack and goes up inside, and Vidal follows him through. So Marazzi back up into 14th and Bruno unlapping himself for the first of, if his car is well handling still, many times I reckon, because he had some good pace in qualifying, and it looks like he will... Oh no, he's blown his engine! Oh no, not again! Oh yes, we have another crash. Simon Wattman and Jules Bouchard in tunnel turn. So Jules Bouchard looks like, okay, he's able to get going, but... And we have our first yellow of the evening. Not at all surprising. Couple of stationary cars and lots of car parts. So Simon Wattman able to limp back to the pits, and it looks like Jules Bouchard, although gingerly, will be able to do the same. Or will he? That's not looking very well at all. So actually Adam Hackman in early for a pit stop. When he actually misses his pit stall by a little bit. Looks like he's taking tires, so all is well. Juha Bos into the pits as well. Let's see, Cesar Schlapinski now finally taking the yellow flag. Now obviously everyone will be trying to do what they can to save on the cars. I don't think it was Bruno, it was Ray Riddle, at least, who went... Oh, David Sabre has retired! Oh, dearie me, I completely missed that. I'm terribly sorry I missed that, since, again, I don't have the replays set in game. That's very unfortunate indeed for David. I know he was looking forward to hopefully having a good event here, but... sadly not to be, as Cesar Schlapinski now heads into the pits. And Alberto Benitez as well, as is Felipe Marazzi. Marazzi actually out ahead of Alberto Benitez. Oh wait, Felipe Marazzi... That's strange, he stopped earlier, now he stopped again. Not sure why that is, as someone else is in the pits for repairs, that's Simon Wattman. Up to the front now, David Yates in the lead, behind the safety car. And this unfortunately throws one of the possibilities, as it were, out of the window. This looks like we're going green this time by, so I'll be right back with commentary. I just need to turn on my lights in my room so I can see my notes, so apologies for just a moment. Okay, so we're coming back to green, and we're green once again. So I'm having just a tad bit of technical difficulty. There we go. So we're green, and David Yates is in the lead, and it's Nilsson in second, and Juha Bos actually ended up a lap down in all of that. That's certainly not what he would have wanted. I wonder who else may have ended up a lap down. It looks like Alberto Benitez is a lap down. How did that happen? Oh, that's a big blow for the Velspinelli Jones Racing team, as is it for Adam Hackman and obviously Juha Bos. All of them hoping for a good event. Very sure indeed. And Schlapinski is making... Oh, Schlapinski loses it! Oh dear me, and straight into Bruno Chacon! Oh no! And Porfirio Santos! Oh dearie me, no! Oh, Juha Bos just about able to avoid the cars on the front stretch. So that's unfortunately Bruno Chacon out of the race. He was wide coming through turn 4, and Cesar Schlapinski went up the inside to try and take the position away from him, and he lost it, but it looks like his car is at least running still, but I'm not sure how whole that car is. And unfortunately Porfirio Santos looks like he'll be out as well, as he's in the pit lane with a smoking engine and many parts of his car off the car. And there he goes as a retirement as well. Oh dearie me, that's so unfortunate. As we have another yellow as well. That's really very much unfortunate, as Schlapinski now is able to get going, but he's already one lap down. Simon Watman has got him back going, as is Jules Bouchard, so we have a few early crashes that is still in the race, which is nice to see. So David Yates retains his lead under this yellow, but since we have another yellow, let's have a quick look at the trivia question for you this evening, so you have something to ponder for the remaining 181 laps or so. As the trivia question for you tonight, courtesy of Jason White, which IndyCar driver won two 30-lap USAC sprint car races at a 3/4 mile Pocono Oval on August 3rd, 1969? Was it A, Sammy Sessions? Was it B, Gary Bettenhausen? Or C, Tom Bigelow? I have to say that I got it wrong, but then again, my knowledge of American racing history could be a lot better than it is. But if you're able to get that right, then very well done indeed to you. As we are 19 laps in, we have David Yates in first on track with Anders Nilsson in second, Brian Yannick in third, Alberto Quino in fourth, with Dave Miller up to 5th position. I think he'll be very happy with that. Jason White still in 6th, so he'll be pretty content with that, I think. He, as I said earlier, wants to tag along and just stay put for the time being. David Yunt in 7th, with Bruno Pagiola 8th, Felipe Marazzi in 9th, and Juha Bos first of the cars a lap down in 10th. So quite a few cars already a lap down, unfortunately due to how the yellow fell last time around, I believe. Adam Hackman in 11th, with Alberto Ibanez in 12th. Cesar Schlapinski in the pits for repairs in 13th. Porfirio Santos a retiree, as is Bruno Chacon. Simon Watman back in the pits, hopefully just for a set of tires or something, as I believe Cesar Schlapinski just got going up ahead of him. And Jules Bouchard sitting in 17th at the moment, still running. And Simon just about is able to beat the safety car out of the pits. As we can see the field streaming through, and this is part of the difficulty with this track. It's because the corners are the way they are. Obviously, turn 1 is like Trenton, which means you have we're having a 14-degree banking there, and then we have turn 2, also known as a tunnel turn, which is similar to Indianapolis. The turns of Indianapolis, which is 9-degree banking, and then obviously you have turn 3, which is 6-degree banking. The setup is a mix of everything, and you need to do your best to try and make it work. As we're back on the green once again, the restart is underway. Juha Bos trying to unlap himself on the inside of David Yates there. Looks like he'll be able to at least partly do it going through turn 1. David Yates might be able to hold on around outside. You can see behind Anders Nilsson losing out to Brian Yannick and Alberto Quino. So Quino with a great restart there. You can see David Yates back at the front of the train. That's Jason White, I believe, a little bit wide through tunnel turn. Looks like he was able to stay out of the wall though. David Yates now enjoying a bit of a gap to second. As looks like Anders Nilsson might have to wait to be able to lap Juha Bos. No, Juha Bos actually drops back behind him. Nicely done by Juha there. Alberto up into 4th, which I'm sure he will be very happy with. And as I mentioned earlier, Dave Miller just the same as David Yunt now on the move. Not making the move into the tunnel turn though. That's one of the big no-nos in USAC and IndyCar racing. And to be fair, probably in NASCAR as well, that turn is not for passing unless you're well alongside before you have to turn in. And Jason White, as always in this race, is tagging along, keeping a watchful eye on proceedings and not overdoing anything, and just waiting for the opportunity to pick up some good points and a good finishing position, currently 7th. But well within striking distance of a podium. As he now actually makes a move and goes up to 6th ahead of Dave Miller. Possibly feeling Dave ain't quite quick enough compared to the pace Jason is able to run at, but let's see what happens here as we come off of turn 1. Dave Miller staying behind, so wanting to work together with Jason to catch up to the cars in front. Ooh, and a bit of push on turn in for Dave there, but able to just about make that work for him. And someone making a very good debut here is Bruno Pagiola, 8th at the moment for Robert L. Fletcher, and keeping well up with the other cars and drivers, and certainly showing that he knows what he's doing at an oval. And Felipe Marazzi likewise up into 9th at the moment, and has been able to stay out of trouble so far, as there's a bit of smoke there. Is that... oh no, don't tell me another one has blown. It has, that's Juha Bos. Oh dearie me. Well done on Juha though, staying up high to let all the cars by until he could find a gap in the traffic and allow and get down to the grass and unfortunately retire from this race. So the engine's definitely showing that They need to be treated well here to not go on you. As Anders Nilsson sets the fastest lap of the race so far at a 49.8. Very nicely done indeed. Looks like the top three is keeping a bit of a gap between them, and Pocono so far able to run well inside the top 10 here, in fourth at the moment, and Anders Nilsson another quickest lap at a 49.7. Ooh. That's ominous with that little bit of a blink, but hopefully there's no other issues for Alberto Jr. in this race, as Jason White clearly proving that they weren't quite quick enough, as Jason is catching up to Alberto Jr. and David Yunt, wanting to try and save with the fuel, I'm sure. Running in behind. Dave Miller here, 7th at the moment, with Pagiola close behind in 8th. Trying to run with Adam Hackman by the looks of things and save a bit of fuel there for both of them. As I also noticed, Cesar Schlapinski has finally retired from this race. Looks like his car was not quite drivable in the end. That's very unfortunate indeed, but it's one of those things that can happen. Very easily done, that you have a bit of a moment and it avalanches to even bigger troubles as you go down the racetrack, unfortunately, since you're carrying such a high amount of speed. And actually, with all the fastest lap, another quickest lap, a 49.5 now for Anders Nilsson. He is really flying, taking to these cars like a duck to water. And he had a very good event last time out, and looks like he is possibly on the way to having an even better one. If I remember correctly, he finished on the podium there, and he's running right behind now for a win here at Pocono. Although it's still early days, lap 30 only. And we are closing in on the pit window for those that did not pit. Was we have another car slow there. That's... oh, it's that Anders Nilsson's pit crew calling for a pit stop, as is Alberto Jr.'s pit crew. I'm not sure, is that's Jules Bouchard running slow. Hopefully just trying to stay out of the way of the faster cars and making his way back to the pits. As we are joined by Juha Bos. I'm really sorry to see that happen, Juha, but looked like you had a good race going up until that point.
Yeah, I think I pitted the lap too early. That didn't help. But I blew the engine trying to keep up with the guys on the lead lap. No, too bad for me.
That's one of those things that can happen. Sorry to anyone listening. I think that was a little bit high when you first spoke, so I've tried to remix the volume there. As Jules Bouchard indeed heads into the pit lane. Yeah, okay, that's one of those unfortunate things that can happen, I suppose.
Yeah, well, live and learn.
That's very true indeed. As Anders Nilsson has actually taken the lead, I missed that, but he has passed David Yates and is trying to romp away, 1.5 seconds in the lead at the moment. And as I said just before you joined, he really has taken to these cars like a duck to water, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's doing really well with them, and if he gets strategy right, I think we'll looking at a potential winner. But I don't think those guys pitted during the 2 yellows. I'm not sure. If maybe you checked it. But
I don't think Nilsson, Jakes, or Yannick pitted. I'm fairly sure Alberto Junior didn't, and Jason White didn't, and David Yunt didn't. So the first one who possibly pitted then was Miller or Pagiola.
yeah, that is correct. I know Alberto pitted, but he overshot his pit stall. That was why he dropped a bit back.
Oh, well, that's very unfortunate. And actually, even a lap down now because of that.
Yes, because otherwise you'd have hit the track again before all the leaders. So he's hoping to make that up once first guys head to the pits.
Well, that's understandable, and I'd assume Adam Hackman is in the same position, really. Sitting a lap down in 11th at the moment. And unfortunately for us, with it being 500 miles, a lot of it is transport, and right now it looks like everyone is just trying to save a bit of fuel and keeping their car on the road.
Yes, because we're on lap 32 now, so those who are... Anders Nilsson just signaled to pit, by the way, I was about to say, so he's probably not gonna be out there for much longer. And that will allow the guys who pitted under the yellow to get back on the lead lap.
Well, something to say is that he's not hanging around on low fuel, another fastest lap. Another 49.5, so only a fraction of a second quicker, but still going quicker here, even with the worn tires. But talking of the tires, as Alberto Quino goes up the inside of Jason White, I know Jason won't be liking having to dice for position here. The outside tires were quite considerably more than the inside tires, don't they?
Yes, they do. The insides, I think you can afford not to change them sometimes, especially the front left. You can, yeah, if you want, you could probably switch them every other pit stop. Haven't tested enough to know it.
It's certainly an interesting possibility either way, and one that we may see later in the race as everyone tries to make their way up the field. And I suppose now with that yellow we will see 5 stops for everyone from here on in. Or what do you think?
Actually, I'm not entirely sure because I had very little practice on the strategy front. I can't really help you. I don't know what to expect. The usual full tank run would be between 33 and 35 laps.
What I heard was somewhere between 30 and 36, dependent on what boost.
So yeah, that's 5 stops definitely, but there's no way around that.
Oh no, Dave Miller! No! Oh dear.
David Jakes just stopped, by the way. He's exiting the pits.
Oh, so both of them pitting on the same lap, but Dave Miller unfortunately losing the car heading into the pit lane. And he's out. Oh dearie me.
Oh, yeah, that looks very, very nasty.
Oh dear. I think Angel May, Mrs. Dave, will have some stern talking to do to him later on, as David Yakes, as you mentioned, is out of the pits in 8th.
Well, also that's the second time in 1 week he's hit some furniture in the pit lane. He did that Monza 2 exiting.
We did indeed. Oh dear me.
Which is very nice, because everybody missed the fact that I did just the same right behind them.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that was very unfortunate for the both of you.
Well, I retired.
Indeed.
By the way, Alberto Ibanez is now nothing right behind Jake's, but Jake's having stopped. He's now heading. Is that the final turn or the second one?
Anders Nilsson is into the pits as well for his first stop of the race after 37 laps actually, so that's he gained a few laps on the yellow.
True. And David Jakes is in the final turn, and Alberto Ibanez is in the second. The second one.
And Yannick in there as well, as White actually takes the lead here for the time being with Yunt right behind him. As Nilsson now exits the pits.
Yes, I think Jason still has to pit.
Both him and Yunt, I believe, have to pit, but it'll be nice for him if he can get to lead a lap, I think.
Yes.
Marazzi actually coming out, and David Yates gets caught out behind them, so Felipe Marazzi up into 4th at the moment, with Pagiola right behind David Yates, so Brian Yannick actually rejoins quite a bit behind.
Jason is just signaling to pit. I don't know if Marazzi has already pitted.
Ooh, that was a brave pass by David Yates. Snuck up the inside in the tunnel turn. And now up
Anders
inside
Nilsson.
Marazzi.
Anders Nilsson looks to have blown his engine as he run out of fuel because he's on 0 RPM.
Oh,
well, it won't be a blown engine,
no.
but he's coasting to the pits.
Oh no.
Not sure what it is. See if he.
Well, that's a very ominously silent engine, I must say. But hopefully that's just a mistyping of fuel or something, and the crew didn't get enough fuel in the car.
Coasting and.
His pit stall is right here, I believe.
Yeah, well, they're refueling him, so I suppose he's.
Well, hopefully that's just
engine's firing again.
Okay,
he's probably
so
lost a lot of time coasting, though.
Oh, indeed. That might
Also, because he's
be
already
that
down
dumb.
in 9th. Yes. Yes, because Yunt's just lapping him, so that's played out quite badly, actually.
Well, badly for him, but at least he's still running and in the points, so.
Yeah, I don't think that will be a problem finishing in the points, because there's only 12 cars left.
Well, there's only 12 left running, oh dearie me. Oh, there is. The Trigger Triangle really living up to its name. And David Yunt really running long. This is his 39th, 40th lap and still running, and no call for pit lane either. I'm not sure what he or the Patrick Racing team has done, but that engine either is running very frugal or they put in a masterstroke of a pit stop strategy during one of the earlier yellows. Oh, someone has crashed up ahead. Oh, that's Jules Bouchard. So a real trial by fire for Jules Bouchard right here. I think that's his 3rd time making contact with the barriers.
Yes. Well, I just checked, and everybody who's currently running will get points because it goes down to 12th.
Well, at least then Jules, no matter how it goes, will be happy with the fact that he will get 1 point. Or sorry, 50 points that is for 12th.
Yeah, but his car looks pretty bent.
He clearly hit the wall quite hard, so.
Yes.
It might very well be that he mainly is looking to try and get up into 12th to be sure that he gets points. And from
yes,
there,
they think that's the only thing you can hope for at this point.
And there yeah. And possibly attrition if he's able to. Ooh. Good thing no pit crew was over the wall there.
I think Marazzi has just overtaken Pagiola for 3rd.
Oh wow, really? Oh yes, he has. So Marazzi is showing some pretty decent pace here. But
yes,
Nilsson. And Yunt's still running, so that must have been a masterstroke of a pit stop in that case. As Nilsson and actually didn't drop off the lead lap, but 7
Oh,
seconds.
Simon Watman has spun. Simon Watman is spinning in. He's hit the wall and he's going again. Oh dear, that's really. Has he lost the rear end? Yes, he has.
Yes, he has. Oh dear, dear, dear. That's the tunnel turn, isn't it? Yes, it is.
The second turn, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry for giving I don't know the name of it.
Dear me, spinning there and going up the wall, going up the track, that's definitely not what you want to do.
Ooh, and he's on the grass again.
Well, I think he's
Getting
mainly trying to stay away from the racing
people's
surface.
way, yes.
But possibly with some suspension damage in the rear, and that could also be one of the reasons he's trying to stay off the racing surface, as it were.
Bouchard just exited the pit lane, which Simon Watman is still trying to reach. He's not giving up.
And with all those pit stops as well, Alberto Benitez is up into the lead lap. Adam Hackman looks like he's just off the lead lap. By about 5 seconds on track.
Well, I think Simon's finding the grip in the grass quite tricky. Because he's not getting anywhere.
Well, I think he's mainly just trying to look after to not over-rev and with the damage to the car as well. I wouldn't be surprised if it's trying to pull one side or the other on him a little bit as well.
Well, it might have been, well, it's quite safe. It's better than hitting the apron. Oh, there's somebody else with a lot of damage entering the pit lane. Jason White spinning on the enters the pit lane minus front and rear wings.
Oh no!
Let's see what he lost it as well. Which turn is that? In the final turn.
Oh, he told me that was where he was struggling with the car. He
Yeah,
had
and
he had the car very well set up for turn 1.
Yes, he's really struggling to reach the pit lane, and he might still get there before Watman does, because they're both crawling towards it.
It looks like
Watman
will now be able to.
And they can have a drag race to the pit lane entrance. Watman has finally found some tarmac. As Jason enters the pit lane.
So both of them into the pit lane for repairs. Very unfortunate for both of them, but hopefully both will be able to continue from here on out. As we're closing in on the quarter distance as well. And David Yunt still with a 6-second lead up in front. And Nilsson just off the lead lap somewhere between, I believe, Yannick in third and Yakes in second. And Pagiola still running in 5th as we close in on quarter distance, actually up into 5th. He was running 7th or 8th earlier, so very well done to Bruno so far. And making very good use of that Robert L. Fletcher machine as well.
Yes, that's true.
And Juha Bos has one more lap, I believe, to get up into 12th position and the points. And Pagiola now pitting for the second time, so he must have pitted during one of the very early safety car periods.
I think he did, yes. And there's somebody else in the pit lane, but I can't see.
That's Simon Watt.
Oh, there's still Jason, yeah.
And Jason White indeed, yeah.
All this drops Pagiola to 6th. 7th even. Pagiola leaving the pits. But Nilsson's already on the home straight. He's going to lose another place.
He'll be just off the lead lap here, along with Anders Nilsson.
Yes, and he's not really sticking to the inside of the apron.
Well, at least he had a lot of gap behind him to most others. Brian Yannick was fairly close behind, but
And Brian laps him now, laps his own teammate.
Pagiola very sportingly getting well out of the way.
Alberto is heading into the pits again for... That's very early, I don't know what that's for.
That must be... He pitted during, I believe, the first yellow, so that would be on point with Bruno Pagiola as well, pitting during the early.
Oh yes, true.
Yellow.
Yeah. If he's then he shouldn't need.
So this would be around 32 laps, I think, for their stint.
Yes, they're a bit out of sync with the rest of the field.
At least until we have another yellow where they are on the lead lap.
Yes, that puts both Bonelli cars in 9th and 10th.
So
Jason's 4 laps down.
Ah.
Yeah, it looked very promising, but slightly failed to deliver.
It's again one of those things. This track really bites if you take any kind of liberties, and
yes,
clearly bitten many drivers tonight so far. As we now at a quarter distance as David Yunt heads into the pits, so he did pit during one of the earlier yellows. Let's see where this puts him as he exits the pit lane in another 10 to 15 seconds time. I'd reckon he'd probably be 6th.
well, he's leaving now, struggling, and Alberto is Little Al is heading onto the start-finish straight. He might just stay in front of. Oh, jeez, that's a bad exit from David Yunt. Gonna have a lot of trouble remaining in front of Alberto.
Well, probably really not wanting to risk the engine, I think.
Yes, because Alberto's close behind him, but not. He's got two lapped cars between them.
Well, I think he'll be safe for now then, but
Adam Hackman is heading into the pits.
Give it a couple of laps and he'll probably be under pressure, as you say. Adam Hackman into the pits. He also pitted during one of the earlier yellows. And I believe that will drop him no positions, actually, seeing the lap difference between the cars. So Yates now up into the lead, and Anders Nilsson right in behind him, so Anders will be wanting to unlap himself in very short time here to get onto the lead lap if there is another yellow to come in the next 10 to 15 laps. And knowing David, I don't think he'll be...
Felipe Marazzi heading into the pits.
I don't think he'll be putting up too much of a fight in there, as we see here the SDP Pat Patrick Racing Team car coming into the pits for a top of fuel. Ooh, that was difficult to say. And
top up of fuel. You'll get there. As David Shakes laps Simon Watman again for the 12th time now.
And 4 tires for him. And Anders looming very close behind there. Actually up into 5th now, as he went past Marazzi. And now he tries to unlap himself. Let's see if he's able to stay ahead coming off of turn 1. Looks like he will quite easily be able to hold on.
Indeed.
And Yannick actually closing in on Yakes as well, so Yannick could be in with a good shot here for at least a podium, if he's able to keep going at this kind of rate. Pagiola and Marazzi possibly picking up a fight they had 20 odd laps ago. I know Marazzi and Chacon had a fight earlier, but now it looks like it'll be between Marazzi and another Brazilian with a name with the same name in the form of Bruno. So unfortunately Cesar Schlapinski had a disconnection. So very unfortunate for him.
Indeed.
And reading in the broadcast chat, Squidly, I don't know exactly which driver Squidly is. It's been a while, so I've forgotten some of the nicknames on YouTube. But yeah, from what I can see, the pit entry is very tricky on this track. I'm not sure what you think of the pit entry.
It is tricky. I missed it the first time I tried to go for it. So yes, it's. You want to have a good look at it before you get in there. And Squidly is Mr. Dave, actually.
Ah, Mr. Dave. Sorry to see you retire there, Dave, but yeah, just one of those things. I suppose you could liken the pit entry here with somewhere like the modern day Adelaide, where we've seen many drivers have trouble getting into the pit lane.
Yes, I just see David Jakes is busy lapping. He's lapped all the drivers at the fourth, so he's now coming up to lap.
Jules Bouchard and Jason
White. Well, he's already a few laps down. There's quite a bit of traffic behind David. He's probably got his sights set up on the guys in second and third now. How far are they still away?
Well, third maybe, but second is sitting just a few cars behind him. So
yes, yeah, I was a bit optimistic, but indeed, third place is not too far away from being lapped. So.
Indeed, but that's Anders Nilsson. I believe he has speed on David, so as long as Anders hits the pit stops for the rest of the race, there's still a minute possibility of a win here tonight. Although obviously it's a long way away, 1 minute and 10 seconds, a little bit less behind Brian Yannick in second at the moment.
Yes.
So in other words, he lost probably about 1 minute and 15 seconds with that lack of fuel and having to coast to the pit lane. Interesting to see Brian Yannick is slowly but surely closing in on David Yates, but the trouble for him at the moment is that David Yunt is not a slouch and is sitting in fourth right in front of him at the moment, between him and David Yates. He tries to dive up the inside, but
we seem to have missed something, but Simon Watman has also retired. I know he's quite far back, but...
Oh dearie me, that's unfortunate. He had quite a bit of damage earlier, so...
yeah, and looking at Jules Bouchard's car, well, he's just taken over 11th, but that car is really bent. It's about 10 laps behind everybody else.
I suppose for him it's a question of trying to finish now. Pick up any scraps that fall off the table. Marazzi and Pagiola still running close together here, so we could still have an Italian-Brazilian bit of action. As someone has spun on the back straight, that may have been Jules Bouchard.
Yeah, that's Jules Bouchard again. Pagiola and Marazzi just passed him.
I noticed that because I was watching this Italian-Brazilian battle, which is now heating up as Pagiola is right in behind the Italian's rear wing. So two of the more prominent teams we've seen this season so far. This time the cars being handled by Pagiola and Marazzi. At it once again in a battle, this time for 6th and 7th. It'll be very interesting to see which of them comes out on top.
Yes, and that means that the Patrick cars are filling positions 3, 4, and 6. Quite good, actually.
Yeah, that's a very good positional situation for the time being. Obviously, there's some time left. Pagiola has a bit of a look up the inside going into turn 1, but Marazzi firmly goes around outside, shuts the door, and holds on to the position for now. So we're now on board with Bruno Pagiola going into the tunnel turn 2, and really having to take it easy, and actually slightly scrapes the wall on the exit.
Well,
into the dirty area behind.
Alberto Benitez is only 6 seconds behind them, so he's probably closing 5 seconds now. I don't expect Alberto will take too much time before reaching those two.
That's probably true, as Bruno once again scrapes the wall, this time on the exit of turn 3.
I think Jules Bouchard bit it again.
I think he will have hit the wall with the way the rubber marks was going down I suppose we could call it the third straight. Pagiola right up in behind Marazzi this time, and a lot of push. Almost in a position where he would probably have needed to go down a gear, which he actually does in the end, I think. Now looking for a good run, really good line through here. He could very well have an opportunity down the front straight to take 6th away from Marazzi this time round. But no, it looks like Pagiola is probably running quite high wings, not able to close in on Marazzi even in the draft. Now at the front, under a second between first and second. I think the happiest bunny at the moment, so out of the drivers still running, will be David Yates, up in the lead at the moment and leading the championship and on the way to what currently is 1,000 points to comprehensively extend his championship lead.
There's Marazzi making a move on Pagiola, but he's not getting past him yet.
Also, Pagiola actually managed to get by in the end.
And Alberto is already 3 seconds behind him, so
Also,
about 4 or 5 laps, we should see Alberto try to pass them both.
well, let's follow this battle for another few laps then and see what happens when Ibanez catches up. As always, it's one thing to catch up to a driver, but actually passing is quite a different matter altogether. As here we can see the two and Ibanez not far behind.
Yeah, and Felipe seems to be backing off on the back straight. Is the back, well,
The second straight.
whatever you want to call it.
I believe it's called the Pond Straight, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, now they're getting on the start-finish straight. At least we know how to name that one. See if Felipe gets any closer to Bruno here.
Well, someone who's definitely getting closer is Ibanez, now in the slipstream in behind them.
Yes, he's gained a lot of time there.
So let's see how he goes about this little thing. And that looked
Yeah,
very
well,
close
Alberto's
indeed.
already gone past Felipe there. That didn't take very long, and he's probably about to eat up Bruno.
Certainly possible. This is a very dangerous place to try and make a move though, but he's ahead before they turn in, so all good. So they all survive, and Alberto, within a lap, climbs 2 positions and up into 6th. Oh, David Yates is out! Oh no!
Ooh, what happened there?
I think he lost it going into the tunnel turn 2.
Yes, indeed. Oh, and he's driven a whole lot distance backwards. Yes, went. Oh, ooh, yes, that's a very nasty crash.
Oh dearie me. I'm terribly sorry, David. I put the commentator's curse on you, I think. Talking about extending the championship lead, and 2 laps later, there's a retirement. Oh dear me, that's very unfortunate.
Yes, this does change the physiognomy of the race, because Ryan Janik now has a very comfortable lead over Anders Nilsson. And everybody else is at least 1 lap down. But if Ryan keeps this under control, very likely the win will be coming his way.
At least as long as there's no hiccups, as it were, then you can very much take it easy.
Yes, but meanwhile it's a battle we can focus on, the one for 4th place. Which is also a battle between the same household. Unless that's a different car I'm looking at.
In a little bit. There's 33 seconds between son and father.
Yeah, sorry, I was
that's
a bit
unfortunately
confused because the other... Yes, nearly there. Right livery, wrong car.
Too bad they can't have a bit of a distinction between the cars. Because there is, as far as I can see, there's no distinction apart from the number on the car, which of the Velos Panelli Jones Racing cars is which.
No, it's very difficult to spot, sorry.
And they even have the same number as one of them on the cars. One is number 5, one is 15.
We'll just have to focus on little Al catching David Yunt.
Oh yeah, that's not a big gap at all. 4 seconds. That's certainly possible to catch back up on. And as a bit of a side note in talking about early on in the race or just before the race, don't be surprised if David Yunt is in the top 10 by the end of the race. He's currently 3rd. Just staying out of trouble, staying consistent. Although how long he'll be able to stay there is another matter entirely, as Alberto Equino ain't too far behind. Actually, that said, where has David Yunt gone?
He's still there. He's still on my screen. Anders Nilsson is in the pits.
Oh, I was looking at it the wrong way. So Anders Nilsson
So
and
Ryan Janik
is right behind him. So almost an entire lap between them. Let's hope the Pat Patrick team actually manages to fill up Nilsson's car this time around, at least, to give him as good a chance as possible to catch up.
Yes, and this puts quite a few people on the lead lap, I think. 4 people, but well, 4 people are on the lead lap now, it's better said, and there might be a few more once this Batch of cars passes. Yes, Alberto has put himself back on the lead lap.
And Marazzi and Pagiola nearly able to put themselves on the lead lap. A little bit behind still. That's Alberto Jr. At least the pit crew getting ready for a pit stop, so he'll be in the next probably 5 laps or so.
Oh, Jules Bouchard just crashed out.
Oh no.
And this is definitely finished because the car's missing a wheel.
Indeed, indeed.
He seems to have lost it in turn 3.
Well, I suppose the positive thing to take away for him is that he was able to bring the car up into 11th in the end.
Yeah, he still get points for his efforts.
Indeed.
And indeed, he has struck the wall in turn 3.
Well, considering how tricky that car looked to be, I'm sorry to say I'm not that surprised that.
No, it was already it had already suffered a lot of damage. Little Al is in the pits now and sitting. Oh, he's lost the place to Marazzi and Pagiola.
Indeed, but a very nice exit, so that could earn him a few seconds over the long run.
Yes, indeed. So we've only got 9 cars left running.
And Jason White, unfortunately for him, the last of the remaining cars running. With Adam Hackman in 8th, Alberto Quino out of the pits in 7th, probably going to be up in 5th or 6th in a few laps' time.
As Bruno Pagiola makes a move on Marazzi for 5th place.
So they're still going at it. Very nice.
Which Marazzi is very eager to claim back.
We're trying to hold on around outside, not quite able to do it though. But with the slipstream, I think he'll be back past by the end of this front straight.
Yep, there he is.
Here he goes. Pagiola not quite so keen to try and run around outside. Ooh! Dear me, that was a very close call for Pagiola. Lost a bit of downforce as he tried to cut underneath Marazzi's car and very nearly lost it. Very nicely held, to be fair. And Ibanez currently up into 4th, so from here on in I think he'll be happy with any kind of points paying position he will be able to get. And as Nilsson, if I saw correctly, he was actually only 55 seconds behind, so I think Nilsson is now trying to alternate tires to gain time on Yannick, because Anders was about 1 minute 4 behind, he's now 54 seconds behind. So, let's see, 75, that would mean there's 3, maybe 4 stops left in this race. Give or take, that would be 40 odd seconds. And he is a little bit quicker. That could be close at the end of the race if he's able to gain those seconds at every pit stop. Ooh, and David Yunt hanging it out coming through turn 2. I think he might have just barely scraped along the wall a little bit, but very nice to see him driving on the edge, even though he's fairly secure in 3rd place for the time being at least. Give or take, dependent on how the pit stops fall out as well, obviously, as he's a little bit off kilter with everyone else. seeing as there's no major action on the track at the moment, let's have a jump on. Let's ride on board with Anders Nilsson for a lap or two and listen to the car and the driver at action here while we take a bit of a moment to catch our breath after all of those recent incidents. See the suspension and tires working, and Anders working as well there, as he is clearly flying at the moment. Noticed he's catching about 2 seconds a lap on David Yunt at the moment, and even gained 3-4 seconds on, make that 2 seconds on Brian Yannick that lap. Not sure if Brian might have had a bit of lapping going on, as he is now right behind Alberto Benitez. To put Alberto another lap down. That Eagle 74 in the hands of Alberto Benitez is another car that's no slouch, but there he goes into the pit lane, so that unleashes Brian Yannick, but he's lost about 4 seconds in the last 3 or 4 laps.
And I think Bruno Pagiola just blew his engine entering the pits.
Oh no.
Or leaving the pits, rather. Yes, he's out. He blew the engine leaving his pit stall.
Oh. Oh, that's so unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate. It was a really nice battle with Filippo.
Indeed.
And the other Parnelli car is getting to the pits, Jason White, as his teammate is leaving it. There's a nice crossover there. But Jason's going to leave him space. He's many laps down, so there's no point in insisting.
Indeed. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Bruno was driving very well, putting in some very good lap times, and as you mentioned,
yes,
that battle was very, very good indeed to watch. So at least a very, very good debut for him in the USAC cars.
Yes, he did very well. Well, Filippo is still running fourth, but he's got 2 Albertos behind him. Little Al 4 seconds behind him, and Big Al 25. See how long they will need to catch Filippo. Filippo himself seems to be catching up someone else. But
that's
Jason exiting the pits. Yes, going rather slowly actually. forcing Filippo to run wide. Well, not forcing, but Filippo just has to run wide.
Indeed, and I'm not saying this is meant to be by Jason, but if you wanted to be a bit naughty in the way you translate this, this is Welshman Lyon's racing team tactics to try and...
Yes, and Filippo slightly brushes the wall. It's psychological warfare.
Indeed.
But still, it's a very good race by Marazzi to hold fourth.
For sure. This is by far the best I've seen him drive so far this year, I believe. He may have had a blip up into the top 5 at the race, but I don't think I've yet this season, as far as I can remember anyway, seen him drive consistently inside the top 5.
Yes, he does seem to have problems as soon as he gets behind Jason, because he's not getting past him.
It might be that Filippo has his car well set up for running.
Yeah, on the straights, but...
Indeed. And obviously, Jason White is in one of the Eagle 74s, and I believe Marazzi's is 73. So a slightly older Eagle chassis. That 74 chassis is a very potent package indeed, and obviously Jason, in the way, at least the American way of racing ovals is concerned, he's entitled to stay there until Marazzi shows that he wants to lap him. Marazzi actually running third at the moment because David Yunt has pitted in the last couple of laps. So I believe right on cue for about 30-32 laps in a stint. Or if that was just a bit of lag maybe, because David Yunt has pitted, but he's out in front of Marazzi, so...
Yes, 10 seconds in front.
So possibly a bit of timing beacons trying to catch up with it.
I will have a quick look how long Marazzi's been out. Filippo is now on lap 84, and his last lap over a minute was lap 53. So Filippo should be in quite soon. Well, soon. Done 30 laps, 31 laps. So give it another 2 or 3, and expect Filippo to pit, which means that Little Al, who is right behind him, can make a move for fourth. Sorry. Apologies.
No problems, and I notice Adam Hackman is into the pits as well, so we have 2 packs of pit stops by the looks of things, those that pitted during the early yellow and then those that stayed out and pitted on the green. Which put a bit of complexity still in this race, because...
Yes, I think we'll only know it towards the end, who will be ending up where. I'll say the chance of a yellow is quite small, with all cars running quite far apart.
Everyone running far apart, and we've had a green flag run for quite a while now, so everyone is in a groove as well. I reckon the biggest danger really is if someone either makes a mistake during lappings, or if during a pit stop because of the tricky entry, someone loses it
and even that doesn't really cause a yellow, because you just crash into the pit lane. You do it properly.
Very much so, but you can... I suppose the bump on the exit of turn 3 could possibly throw you off and you spin down the front straight.
Yes, it's quite a nasty one.
But all in all, what we're trying to say is the likelihood of a green flag until the finish is probably somewhere around the 80-85 to 20 to 15%. For 80-85% sure that we'll have green until the end.
Felipe Marazzi is now signaling to pit, as expected.
Yep, and Alberto now right up behind him. Only just over a second to look at. So it looks like on pace alone, Alberto Jr. is a little bit quicker than Marazzi, and most likely by the next pit cycle, as it were,
Yes.
Alberto may very well stay ahead of Marazzi.
Yes, Alberto only pitted 16 laps ago, so he's quite a long while to go. Pitted 16 laps, so he can probably go for another 17, so that put him around lap 103, 107. So after that, he'll only need 2 stops to finish the race. Whereas Marazzi, by pitting now, will need another one. So we will probably finish ahead of Marazzi, because Marazzi has to make one more stop.
That's unfortunate for Filippo, but that's the way the cookie
Yes,
crumbles
because
occasionally.
Filippo has 112 laps left. Quick count of that one.
Yeah, that sounds like 2 stops and a splash. Pretty much. Or is that 4 stops?
If he does 3 stops, which he'll definitely have, well no, 3 stints, it's 37 laps each. So he can get away with 2 stops if he does fuel saving. Whereas Alberto, a little Al, can run a bit harder.
It'll certainly be interesting to watch how Filippo goes about it and how much fuel save he's able to do if he goes that route. As Alberto Benitez was put a lap down now by Brian Yannick. I think that's a final lap down. I don't think he's going to get back onto the lead lap.
Brian pitted on lap 72. Brian pitted 20 laps ago, so he has another, well, it's optimistic, 15 laps left, sorry. So pitting around 107 gives him 93 laps to go, which he can easily cover on 2 stops.
And I believe Anders is pitting pretty much at the same time, so 2 stops left for both of them in that case. So unless Brian runs into any kind of trouble, I don't think Anders will be able to catch him. He would need 1 more stop to be able to cycle through if he gains 10 seconds like he has done on the last 2 pit stops.
And is pitted on the same lap, 72, so he also has 2 more pit stops to make, one presumably around lap 107, and the next one 107 plus.
If he's able to do 37 laps a stint.
Oh. I need to get my maths right, actually.
So not 154, 144 if he's able to do 37 laps. I'll let you get on with the maths.
Yes, I will come up with a nice little scheme explaining who haven't done what. I'm obviously not wide awake.
Yep, sounds good. As on the track, Anders Nilsson puts a lap on Jason White, going into tunnel turn. And then Marazzi is there on the exit. Looks like Anders will wait until the start-finish straight. Looks like, depending on how the lappings go, Brian's and Anders' pace is very similar indeed. So it'll be very, very hard, I think, for Anders to be able to take the win here. David Yunt back up into 3rd with Marazzi's pit stop. Sorry, he was there already. Clearly I'm not quite awake either. Equino Little Al still in 4th, with Alberto Benitez currently in 5th. 26 seconds now behind Little Al, so the son is actually pulling away from the father at the time. For the time being, I should say. Felipe Marazzi out in 6th. Adam Hackman currently in 7th. And Jason White currently running in 8th as Anders Nilsson sets the quickest lap of the race at a 49.5. So another 49.5, a fraction of a second quicker than he went earlier in the race. That time on low fuel, and I don't think it's quite that low of a fuel amount in the car at this point, so clearly trying to turn the wick up a little bit and go faster still. Certainly looks like when they are running, Ryan and Anders are running on their own out on track. Anders is a little bit quicker by a few tenths a lap, but clearly not quicker enough to make a huge dent in the time difference between them. And I believe another thing to actually keep an eye on towards the end of the race will be the battle for third between Yunt and Alberto Jr., as I believe Equino is running a little bit quicker a lap compared to David, but I'm not sure he's quicker enough to make up the gap, but certainly something for us to have a bit of an eye on. When Marazzi scrapes the wall there, it's a bit unfortunate for him, as that's Brian and Yanni coming up to lap the both of them, I believe. No, that's actually Little Al. It looked like the Robert L. Fletcher car, slightly from a bit of an angle from behind.
Well, I slightly dampen your spirits regarding pit stops because everybody's got 3 laps regardless of where they are. All of them.
Interesting.
Yes. Because I expect Janik and Nilsson to be around lap 104 and 105, that area, which gives them 95 laps to cover, which is roughly 3 tanks of fuel, so they still have to make 2 stops after it. So they'll be right on target if they do that. They're running out of fuel nearly to the finish. Yunt is slightly more comfortable having pitted. Oh yeah, sorry. Iquino was also on that schedule. So they've measured it quite tightly, but it'll be very close towards it. Ibanez pitted on lap 80, so he's got a bit more margin, but he also has to pit 3 times. His only advantage is he only needs 10 laps less in his last pit stop, and Yunt will need 3 laps less. Because he pitted on lap 83 instead of 71, like the leaders. They've got a bit of margin. Maybe they can fill up less so they can use more. The one who's pitted the last, who's also got 3 stops to make, but theoretically has to take less fuel on board, is Marazzi, because he pitted on lap 89. So once he pits on lap around 122, he'll still have 78 laps to cover with 2.5 tanks. But his obviously last pit stop will be splash and dash. You'll only need fuel for 10 laps. So
Sounds about right.
that's what I'm expecting to happen here.
Well, taking that into consideration, being at 3 stops, that's if Yannick is playing it safe and taking 4 tires at each stop, which I think is what has gone on so far at least. If Anders is only taking 2 tires each stop, that would mean he gains about 30 seconds in the pits. So he has 11 seconds in that case to try and catch up out on track.
Yes, but is he willing to take that risk, or is he settling for second? That's still quite a big... Anders is signaling to pit now, by the way. Which is exactly as... Well, it's 1 lap earlier than I predicted, but...
Well,
there we
could
go.
Just be his pit crew being ready to pit.
No, he's definitely pitting, because he's on the apron.
Yes, he is. Okay.
But it's lap 1. Well, it's sort of around the schedule I expected. Maybe he's used a bit more fuel trying to catch up Yannick. I expect Yannick to pit very soon as well.
Could be
whereas Yunt will only be in about 10 laps.
It could be a bit of a combo, that the fact that he has used a bit more fuel and the fact that he had someone in front of him that he felt, I'd rather go into the pits than try to put the lap on him here. So let's see what Brian Yannick decides to do. No call to pits yet. As he now has Marazzi to try and put the lap down. And it seems like the way the track is, you really can only put a car a lap down either at the end of the front stretch or at the end of the long pond straight. After turn 2 and into turn 3, it's very difficult to try and put a move on anyone.
Brian Yannick just signaling to pit, and what's that coming from behind? There seems to be some... Oh, Brian blew his engine. Brian's blowing his engine. Yes, I could see an orange wake coming from his car on the main straight. Oh, that's really unfortunate.
No!
We're only left with 7 cars in the race now. Oh dear, that's really unfortunate for Ryan.
And Nilsson can see that, of course, and knowing Anders, he'll be crying at the fact that the battle is off. And
yes, because he's got quite a margin over Yunt. And Yunt, who, because he's got more fuel on board, Ikinu might be a bit faster, but Ikinu will have to take more fuel, so that's not really going to help him. However, Yunt could make an impression on Nilsson if he needs less fuel. I don't know when David last pitted, but
I can't.
I'd say the fight for the win isn't over yet. Well, it's obviously not between Brian and Anders anymore, fortunately. But you might still have an ace up his sleeve. What was that pile of smoke? Was that still...
that was Yannick just
still being towed away, yes.
So we have a new leader in the form of Anders Nilsson. Now he's in the position of, you just need to look after the car, keep it safe.
Yes, I'd look after the engine if I were him, but I think he got the message by now, because he tends to be very, very careful with his equipment, so I've got quite a lot of faith on him on that side.
Certainly, he's one of those endurance drivers that has done miles and miles and miles of races in 24-hour events and 6-hour, 8-hour, 10 hours, 12 hours.
And just like that, the Pat Patrick team has first and second in the bag. Well, not in the bag, but in hands anyway.
Absolutely incredible how
and
fortune can swing.
Once Yannick's retirement is moving towards the bottom of the table, they'll also have 5th with Felipe Marazzi.
Which he will surely be very happy with if he's able to hold on to it. But Adam Hackman has closed in about 10 seconds since the last pit stops.
Yes, there's 3 Patrick cars left, two Parnelli Joneses and 2 Singleton entries. One being the Lloyd Ruby car, and the other, which is driven by Adam Hackman, and Penske, Little Al, who's about to pit with Roger Penske's crew.
Yeah.
That's Little Al pitting on lap 106, as expected too.
That almost sounds like he's going almost a lap longer than expected then.
No, this is roughly where I expect him to be, because that means he's done 34 laps. This is right on schedule.
Or he must just about be able to be serviced right there.
Yeah, that's quite optimistic stopping there.
I suppose as long as no one else has to enter their pit stops, then should be relatively okay. I suppose the happiest one right here at the moment would probably be Jason White, still running in this race despite his spin and hit with the barriers earlier, and sitting soon in 7th position. For a nice haul of points as well towards the overall championship. And it would seem like, at least from the retirements I've seen with the engines, it's more a question of putting too much revs and strain in them rather than temperature thing.
Actually, I don't think I over revved it. I just went over temperature too often in too short a time span, because I was too eager wanting to catch up. So it was probably 810 a bit too often, and it's quite enough.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm thinking of at least Brian Yannick's retirement as well as Ray Riddle's. Both of those were sitting in the draft behind the car, running very quicker than they would do.
It's like I told you. I was watching Brian Janik, and I could just see an orange fume behind him. I first thought my screen was playing up, but then I realized it was his car starting to spit flames.
Ah. Certainly very unfortunate indeed, but just the way it is. I suppose if Anders wins here and scores 1,000 points, he may very well end up in the top 5 in the overall championship.
I'll have a quick look at that, Jonathan, what his current standings are.
Because I know I think 1,300 something points is the points Ray has in 5th at the moment.
Unfortunately, Dave Miller has given up his car for the season.
I'm sorry to hear that.
As much as I like these cars, they don't really seem to like me very much. I know the feeling, Dave. They don't like me either. But I'm still trying to stick with it.
Well, considering Dave has a Williams which needs quite a bit of setup work in F1.
Yes, that's
I can
quite
understand
intensive.
that trying to get both these trigger machines set up is a bit troublesome over the time that you have available to try and get them set up.
And if Mr. Nielsen gets his 1,000 points here, I'll have a quick look. He will end up with 1,900 points, which just below Jacob Fredrickson in 5th. So Jacob is 4th, and Anders will end up currently 5th in the standings.
So looking
7th, so he's only moving up 2 places.
Indeed, but looking at that, that would mean top 5 within approximately
3
600
races.
points.
Yeah, well, he knows where to score.
Because Jacob ain't scoring, Thiago ain't scoring, Cesar Schlapinski disconnected and retired, and David Yates crashed and retired.
Yes, it's doing a good.
So five for the championship after this race, if it ends the way it is at the moment.
David Yunt would get 800 points, which would elevate him from actually nowhere. No, he's 16, so 800 points. We give him 1345, which is enough to claim, well, 5th, 6th down behind Nelson. Who is 3rd? Alberto Benitez, 700 points. Winning him 40. So yes, these people would all move in around 5th, 6th, 7th place in the championship standings.
So very much positioning themselves for a good fight in the remaining, is it 4 rounds? 5 rounds? I believe.
Let me have a quick look.
I believe it's 5. This is round 9. We have 13 or 14 rounds in total.
13. We have.
So 4 rounds, 5 rounds left after this. So 5 rounds.
Yes,
to
the next
decide
round
a
is in.
battle.
The next round is on the 4th of October. The Tony Bettenhausen 200 at Wisconsin.
At Wisconsin. Oh, that'll
Then
be a
11 and 12 are the Trenton Times 300, which are 2 150-mile races on the 15th of November. And we end the season on the 6th of December with the Arizona 150 at Phoenix, which is also where we started the season for a 150-mile race.
So we have only stonking great events left in this championship.
Yes,
I'm so looking forward to the finish of this one.
Yeah, so we only have 3 race days left, even if there's 4 races.
It'll either way be some very hard fought races left at some great venues, and obviously everything to play for in the championship. As David Yunt now heads into the pits out of 2nd position, and Alberto Benitez is in the pits as well, so Alberto Junior climbs up into 3rd position.
It's interesting they're both in the pits at the same time, because I had them, the last stops, Alberto seems to have gotten more out of his fuel tank than Yunt did. Maybe Alberto's saving more, Yunt is pushing harder.
Well, I'm not surprised David is doing that, because he is still in with a slim chance at a win if the pit stops and his pace plays out the way he would like.
Unfortunately, I have to leave you alone the broadcast because I've other things to do. So I hope you'll all enjoy the race. I'll keep an eye on the broadcast, but I can't be commentating any longer for now. Okay. We'll see you at the next F1 race, which is in 2 weeks.
Indeed. Thank you very much for joining me for part of this race.
You're welcome, and I hope I'll at least be able to finish something, which I haven't been very good at lately.
It'll come, mate. It'll come.
Well, see you later.
Sparking a lot. Yep. See you. So David Yunt there going into turn 3, sparking a lot with a full tank of fuel in the car. Clearly ending up running the car quite low, and about 22 seconds he has in advantage over Alberto Equino at the moment. So about the same as it were before this pit cycle.
User left your channel.
So seeing as we are pretty much in the middle of the pit cycles here, let's have a quick look at what just to remind ourselves what actually, what is coming up here at ISO in the coming weeks, as Juha alluded to, the Portuguese Grand Prix, Grande Prémio de Portugal, for the 1991 Formula 1 Championship is 2 weeks away on September the 27th. The event thread for that, I believe, will go up after this Pocono 500 event finishes, so if you're looking for a ride in the Formula 1 Championship, then keep an eye out, because there are some pretty good cars, I believe, still available to be picked up for that particular event. Then we have the Tony Bettenhausen 200 coming up around 10 of this championship on October the 4th. There are a couple of cars, I believe, available to be picked up if any of you watching would be interested. And then we have Gran Premio Tio Pepe de España, the 14th round of the 1991 Formula 1 Championship, on Sunday, October the 18th. And some very good events still upcoming indeed. And I've just had a message from David Yates, actually a little while ago, but he has no idea what happened to Kovstad. He was trying to take it easy, and clearly was noticing what was happening to everyone else, but at turn 2 he tried to take the turn the same way he had done before, but for whatever reason the rear end broke loose, so again, just one of those things, unfortunately. So Anders Nilsson are actually enjoying a full lap ahead of David Yunt, although Anders is still to pit on this cycle. I believe he is, if I remember correctly, about 5 to 10 laps away from his more or less second to last stop. Alberto Benitez still trying to catch up to David Yunt, and looks like he is running a little bit quicker at this point in time in his Roger Penske McLaren. Although obviously the time is fluctuating just a tiny bit. And seeing as I need to refill my water supply, we will take a quick commercial break. Hopefully no issues will befall anyone in the few minutes that we hear from our sponsors, but see you on the other side. Stay tight, stay around, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes' time.
I'm George Montgomery. This is my game room. The furniture you see, I made. You know, I used to shine it with paste wax, but now I use new Pledge. Pledge now has key ingredients found in Johnson paste wax to give rubbed-in paste wax beauty instantly. Doesn't that wood grain look great? That isn't paste wax beauty. I'm not George Montgomery. Remember, now you get the rubbed-in beauty of paste wax instantly every time you dust with new Pledge.
Fred, I told you, you dance the merengue all night, you get a headache.
Oh.
You eat 5 enchiladas with chili sauce, you get a heartburn.
Oh.
I'll give you some Alka-Seltzer.
When you have upset stomach with headache or body aches and pains, Alka-Seltzer has antacids and specially buffered aspirin for quick relief.
The Alka-Seltzer worked.
Good. We've got another party tonight.
Oh.
Look up, America, see what we've got. There in the sunny side of living. Look for the best, yeah, live life refreshed. Look for the real thing. Right from the Carolina.
No country's got more good things than we've got, including the world's best drink to help us enjoy them all. So have a Coke and start looking up.
It's the real thing. It's the real thing.
The Wishbone Backyard Barbecue. For people who like good food, good friends, and good fun. For them, Wishbone Italian dressing. It takes a very special blend to make a dressing with real Italian flavor. And that blending secret made Wishbone Italian America's favorite salad dressing. Wishbone Italian. For people who really like salads.
To get the most mileage from a new set of tires, you'd treat them right from the start. We didn't do that. First, we ran a set of Sears steel-belted radials on the toughest back roads in Morocco. Then we put them on American roads. 72,400 miles later, they're still going strong. The Sears steel-belted radial, it can take a lot and still go a long, long way. Radial design, 2 steel belts. The Sears steel-belted radial, only at Sears.
Now comes Miller time. Suddenly, you're the 3 best sailors on the water. And that calls for a round of the best-tasting beer you can find. Miller High Life, America's quality beer since 1855.
If you've got the time, we've got the beer. Miller beer.
Sometimes your future may be captured in a single moment, in the present.
We're helping 40 million people, more than 40 million people who know the future is now. At Metropolitan Life, we help prepare the future.
At Metropolitan Life, we've spent over a century helping people prepare for the future. Metropolitan Life, where the future is now.
The colors in the XL100 are really alive.
These TV cameramen rate RCA XL100 solid-state color TVs.
I like the realistic color on the RCA XL100, like the blue of the Dodger baseball caps against a green background.
The color on the RCA XL100 really jumps out at you.
More senior TV cameramen own RCA than any other color TV.
The color in the XL100 makes you feel like you're right down here on the field.
RCA XL100. Don't settle for less.
There we go, as I just try to sort out the technical side of things. We certainly did, Berlin. It's a mainstay. So back at the track, looks like Alberto Jr. has closed up just a little bit on David Yunt, but not very much. Oh dearie me, Felipe Marazzi has retired from the race. Oh no. I really need to stop talking about drivers, don't I? Really good drive from Filippo, but unfortunately it didn't quite want to work out all the way, but even with that he will finish 7th and receive points for 7th place finish, so it'll be a good haul of points, but obviously considering where he was running in the race, I believe he will have been hoping for a little bit more. Again, it's just one of those things, as we now have 6 cars left in the race with about 70 laps to go. David Yunt sitting 2nd for Pat Patrick Racing and 1-2 for Pat Patrick. At the moment he will be very happy with that. But there is still that danger of Alberto Benitez for Roger Penske sitting in 3rd. Being able to show these onboards occasionally, because you can really see and hear how hard the drivers are trying. Looks like the gap is more or less stable at around 20 seconds between Yunt and Equino at the moment, so unless Alberto Jr. is able to find a little bit extra pace towards the end of the race, looks like this is more or less settled in David Yunt's favor. Alberto Benitez currently 4th, despite the early hiccup during one of the yellows, missing his pit stall and having to reverse to get service. I think he'll be pretty happy with the recovery drive he's put on. Obviously, slightly aided by other drivers running into trouble, but 4th is either way a good result. I suppose the same could be said for 4th to 6th place, or 4th to 6th place drivers at the moment, because 5th is Adam Hackman, who also had a bit of a lackluster start, and then obviously must have ran into some kind of issue during the yellows, presumably a similar issue to the one Alberto Benitez had, and been on a recovery drive since, and obviously 5th place, and I believe approximately 500 points is a very good haul, considering that kind of start to the race. And Jason White, obviously, we saw having a good start, but then just the slightest of hiccups going through turn 3, as he has a bit of a moment coming through 2. But still running in 6th, and a good haul of points coming his way. No matter how the remaining 70 make that about 65 laps goes for him. In terms of, I mean, the amount of drivers still running, we've seen probably, at least in my memory, more drivers that has actually lost it and crashed into the barriers than has blown the engines, which is, I suppose, expected, considering the track is as difficult as it is to drive. With all the hazards that we mentioned earlier, with the crest coming out at 2 and the bump on the exit of turn 3 especially as the main culprits, and obviously later we also saw the pit entry being a very hazardous place indeed. And I noticed there actually Adam Hackman is running very much to a pace, it looked like. 51.3 as his best lap, his most recent lap at 51.4. Let's actually stay with him for towards the end of this lap and see if that's generally where he's running pace-wise. Because in that case, I'd say his lackluster start will have been down to the strategy he was wanting to run in the race. Trying to make the most out of each tank of fuel. And yeah, another 51.5 this time, but that's only just over 2/10 of his best lap, and that's very, very, very nice and consistent indeed for Adam. Someone's into the pits. That's Alberto Benitez. Actually looks like he got a little bit close to the pit wall once again. As yes and white, despite probably running with a tad bit of damage, is actually staying fairly close to his ultimate lap pace, which is very impressive indeed for him. So, yeah, Alberto Benitez actually had to reverse to get into this pit stall, so that's a bit of lost time. So that may very well be the nail in the coffin in terms of his try to run on second place in this race. Let's see, now exits and gets a little bit loose on the apron, but able to hold on to it. And let's have a bit of a look at his senior as well. And the best running at the moment, Velspinelli Jones Racing Team car. And see if there's any major differences in the lines and applications that Alberto Benitez is making use of compared to Jason White. Close call there on the exit, but he's able to hold on, but a fairly slow lap compared to his best so far. Really see here that the dirty air affects you by quite far way back. Alberto having to be very careful both through 2 and 3 that lap to not get too much cushion one wide. Actually, they're deciding against having a go at Adam Hackman going into 3, but he would like to go past here, and that Hackman actually opens the door for him. So I reckon Alberto will be past here. That was not a good line to take. Apparently, that was a very squirmy moment, but he was able to hold on, thankfully. Actually a full lap between Anders Nilsson and David Yunt for first and second, so will probably take a miracle for David Yunt to have a go at the lead and a win in this race. As we're also closing in on the 3/4 distance. Certainly sounds interesting, Berlin. I'll certainly see if I can have a look at it when time and opportunity permits, obviously. As Anders Nilsson is now closing in on, is that Alberto Equino, I think? No, Adam Hackman it is, as someone else was headed into the pit lane. That was Alberto Ibanez heading into the pits, and David Yunt looks like he is exiting the pit lane. So that indeed has that slight hiccup for Alberto Equino definitely lost him wide of the time to David Yunt. And I wonder if there may not have been further issues somewhere, because that's quite a margin, and Alberto Ibanez is just 10 seconds behind his son now. So maybe it's a battle for the podium honors rather than for second and third that we will see shortly. As Anders Nilsson now makes his way past Adam Hackman. And we are now at 3/4 distance, so 50 laps to go in this 500-mile race. It'll be interesting to see now, although the difference in fuel load will be in Alberto Equino's favor. It'll be interesting to see what new tires will do for Alberto Ibanez, as he will try to reel in his son and take a podium finish for Vels Panelli Jones Racing Team in the remaining 50 laps of this race. And it does look like he is slightly, all in all, able to close in, but it's a question of, looks like a few thousandths of a second a lap. It's going one way or the other between the two. That's Alberto Ibanez running very wide indeed, slamming or hitting the wall. trying a bit too hard to catch up. We'll have to see whether that made any difference to how his car is handling. But it was, by the looks of things, closing in just a little bit, but that may very well cool his charge. Either for the rest of the race, or at least until he is able to figure out how his car will now behave. As I'm fairly sure that it will have slightly tweaked the geometry of his Eagle 74. Looks like Adam Hackman's pit crew is getting ready for a stop, so his second to last stop, I think he'll need probably a 2 tire change and a full fill up to end off the race with about 30 laps left. But seeing as there's no major battles on track at the moment, let's have a look again at a trivia question and the answer to that. So, the question we had for you this evening, before all the craziness really began after the initial yellows, was which IndyCar driver won 2 30-lap USAC sprint car races at a 3/4 mile Pocono Oval on August 3rd, 1969? Was it A, Sammy Sessions, B, Gary Bettenhausen, or C, Tom Bigelow? And if I remember correctly, Barry Lynn was guessing A, and Angel May were guessing C. We have Cesarius for B, we have Little Piccolo for B, and Dave Miller guessing B. Sorry, it was the other way around. So Angel May was guessing for A, and then Barry Lynn was guessing for C. But the answer is A, Sammy Sessions. So big congratulations to Angel May for getting our trivia question correct this evening. Hopefully, despite Dave's retirement, that will mean a bit of happiness for use this evening. So let's see, back on track. Alberto Benitez actually closed in a little bit on his son still. Now 11.5 seconds as he crosses the start-finish line. So that's about a second gain in the last couple of laps. And it looks like Alberto Sr. definitely wants the third place finish, but so does his son, so we'll see how they sort that one out as we close in on the end of the race in the next 30 odd laps. Let's have another ride on board with Alberto Benitez as he tries to fly around this track to catch his son. I believe actually, if we look towards the horizon on this start-finish straight, that dot or 4 just turning into turn 1 now, I believe is Alberto Equino, so Alberto Senior can actually see the car and driver he's chasing, which always helps when you're trying to catch up to someone in front. Clearly the car ain't quite wanting to do the same thing that Alberto is telling it to. Now 10 seconds between them. So the Eagle 74 is definitely closing in on the McLaren. The question is if he's closing in quick enough. 40 laps to go. Make that 38 for our leader, who is 2 laps ahead of this battle for 3rd and 4th. As Alberto Equino actually has a little bit of lapped traffic to contend with in the form of the other Velspinelli Jones Racing Team car of Jason White. Yet again, there could be some inter-team communication here, and you never know, Jason might make it just a tad bit more difficult for Little Al to be able to get by, as Little Al has to take the wide line through Tunnel Turn. You're right, Cesarius, that's definitely a possibility that the pit stops will decide it all. Now it's been 2.5 hours now, and we are probably about 15 to 20 minutes away from the finish of the race, dependent on what happens to our remaining drivers. As it's now about 8.5 seconds, maybe, make that 9 seconds as they cross the finish line between Little Al and Big Al. And Alberto Jr. still hasn't been able to get past Jason White. I'm not sure whether he's actually happy to sit behind Jason or not here. Hey Lyle, please don't have those kind of moments. Yes, there he goes, up and past Jason White, put him another lap behind him. And it's probably a very good idea that with what Alberto did just then, take just a little bit of time to actually get within striking distance without overstressing anything. With what we've seen so far in this race, anything can still happen. And it sort of looks like Alberto Jr. has actually been able to make a bit of a difference now in the gap between him and Alberto Ibanez, possibly due to lower fuel and not as worn tires and as much weight to try and carry through the corners. As I believe if Alberto Jr. is able to complete, say, another 2-3 laps here, he'll be good to pit and go to the end of the race. While Alberto Sr., who pitted a little bit later, like 10-15 laps later, still needs a splash and dash, but could come out right next to Alberto Equino, so race for third place is certainly not over yet. And it looks like Anders Nilsson, right on cue, is getting ready for a pit stop as he stays below the apron line, and into the pits he comes for his final pit stop of the evening. And very gingerly, very carefully coming into his pit stall. Understandably so. And looks like 4 tires for the Pat Patrick team on their leading car. And out of the pits he comes with a lot of wheel spin, getting some heat generated into the rear tires, and exciting those of us watching that enjoy that kind of thing. Putting rubber down like that actually reminds me, for some reason, of an old Norwegian stop-motion movie containing dolls actually doing most of the action. Flåklypa Grand Prix, that the movie is called. Watched it quite a lot as a kid, and one of the scenes, the car is not doing very well. They managed to somehow get it going reasonably well. Out of the pits they go, full chat, and about 2 yards of tarmac just curls up where they started accelerated. Just one of those funny little things as a young child to see that happen. Anyway, out on track, still a lap lead for Anders Nilsson, with David Yunt still in second and Alberto Equino Approximately 9 seconds, I'd hazard to guess, ahead of Alberto Ibanez in 4th. 5th for Adam Hackman, 2 laps now behind Alberto Ibanez. And a further lap behind is Jason White in 6th. Alberto Ibanez clearly trying, four-wheel drifting it out of the tunnel turn there, trying to catch up to the car in front. So Aquino comes through there, then it's Jason White, and then his teammate Alberto Ibanez right behind. As Alberto Aquino's pit crew is now getting ready, I thought, for a pit stop, but false alarm. Looks like Alberto Aquino is still able to go a little while longer. No, his pit crew is back out once again. And it looks like he's slowing down here, so... Oh, he is indeed. He touches the grass trying to get onto the pit apron. That was a very close call, but into the pits he goes for his final stop of the race. I'd hazard to guess that Alberto Ibanez will go for probably 8 to 10 laps longer and then do a splash and dash, maybe 2 tire stop, and see if he can come out in front of Al Junior. And also possibly with a bit of a chance to make use of his teammates' slipstream here. Let's see what happens as Alberto Ibanez tries to lap his teammate. Or whether he decides to head into the pits a little bit earlier, as to not get the dirty air. Jason White actually lets him pass by the looks of things. Made it fairly easy for his teammate. Understandably so. This is very intriguing. Who of them will actually get the last podium spot here? I would certainly agree, Cesarius, and it looks like Alberto Ibanez may actually be slightly increasing the gap at the moment, so I suppose we'll only really know when Alberto Ibanez actually heads into the pit lane, which I believe will be around lap 180 for himself. Ooh, and Alberto Benitez with a bit of a moment coming off of turn 2 there. So clearly trying to make use of the lower fuel that he has in the car at the moment to open up gap and give himself a better opportunity at finishing in 3rd position. Oh, and here he comes actually into the pit lane. This is the money point. Let's see how this goes. It'll be about a 20 odd lap dash to the end of the race. Let's see where Alberto Quino is. He's in the tunnel turn at the moment, with Alberto Ibanez actually taking 4 new tires. Into the final turn goes Al Unia, as Alberto Ibanez is leaving the pit stall. So out of the final turn comes Alberto Unia. Down there in the pit lane we can see Alberto Senior. Oh, this will be so close on the exit. Into turn 1 on the apron goes Alberto Ibanez. Alberto Quino trying to come round and get away in front of his father. I don't think he'll be able to. A bit of dirty air as well, a bit of a loose moment. And about 2 seconds the gap between the two as the pit cycle through. So let's see what Alberto Junior will be able to do here now, as he's just within draft range, I believe, of the Eagle 74 in front of him. So we're now on board with Alberto Quino as he's trying to catch up to Alberto Ibanez. So it looks like about 1.2 is the drafting distance behind, as I believe that was David Yunt in the pit lane, leaving his pit stall for the final time after a quick pit stop there. As our eyes currently will have to be on this 3rd place battle. 1 second now between the two. And about 18 laps to go. Union really closed in on that start-finish straight. But obviously he'll have to be careful not to overheat or over-rev the engine, either of which could spell disaster. But he is certainly now hassling Al Senior quite a bit. He's closing in. He could be going for the move here. He does. Up the inside. Oh, I think he's entering a bit too quickly, maybe. Let's see what kind of air Al Senior can get on his front wing there. Looks like he got a decent exit. He could retake the position right here ahead of the tunnel turn. Oh, side by side, Alberto Senior backs out. Probably a very good idea indeed, as that could have ended very badly for both of them. But the battle continues, as now it's Al Senior's time to try and see if he can find a good exit onto the start-finish straight and slipstream past, as he had a very good exit indeed. He'll be passed way early. There he goes up the inside and retakes third position away from Al Junior. Oh, but a decent cutback maneuver there from Al Junior. He could have a chance going into tunnel turn to take the position back. He's definitely looking for it. And he's just about ahead, as Alberto Senior has to back out and let Equino retake third position. Oh, and I just noticed Adam Hackman has retired. Oh dear me, that must be so frustrating, so close to the end of the race. But that will still be a 6th place finish for him, so at least some good points towards the championship, but clearly a bit of a frustration for him, I'm very sure indeed. But that means Jason White will get another top 5 finish as long as he is able to complete another few laps, which I think he'll be very happy with, considering how his race started. Let's see Alberto Ibanez with a looks like a pretty decent exit onto the start-finish straight. And 13 laps to go, and Alberto Ibanez looks to try and retake third position. And he's just about able to do so going into turn 1. Oh, but wide there, Alberto Junior looking up the inside. Not quite able to get a run down on the apron, but in a good position to try and use the slipstream. But Alberto Ibanez clearly showing that you're not coming up the inside this time around. As I believe now Jason White will have gotten up into... Oh sorry, I was following the wrong driver there, that's why it looked like it. So Alberto Equino once again in the position of trying to take away third position from Ibanez, which clearly will not be easy, as now Jason White as well is up into 5th position. My apologies if you could hear that. It's been a very cold and bleak September weekend here in Sweden, and when my hands get a little bit cold, I tend to have to warm them up. And when I warm them up, I also end up in a position where occasionally I crack my fingers. But the battle on here is certainly very interesting. Alberto Equino now with a decent run onto the start-finish straight. This could be the opportunity for him to retake third position with 10 laps to go. think this is generally going to be whoever gets the run and pass done into turn 1 on the penultimate lap, or going on to the final lap I should say, is the one that will take third position, as Alberto Benitez looks up the inside heading towards the tunnel turn, not able to get a run, enough of a run to overlap Equino going in there, and he has to remain in 4th position. Now once again it's Alberto Senior having to try and find a way past and up into the podium position. I believe that is Anders Nilsson in behind them, but I think he will, even if he catches up, will just hang back and watch this, as Alberto Benitez with a bit of a loose moment coming off of 2 there, but taking a bit of a high line to get a good run onto the start-finish straight. Let's see if he's able to do so. A bit of a gap. I'm not sure he'll be able to get close enough to take the position this time around. And possibly hanging back just to try and look after fuel and engine a little bit. 8 laps to go, and in the position he is now, he gets to choose when and where he tries to make the move to take 3rd position away again. Oh, here he goes with the run though. Looked like Junior was trying to hold on around outside for a moment there, but he backs out, and Senior is back up into 3rd position into the podium place. Ooh, Alberto Junior diving up the inside into turn 3. But Ibanez with a wide line should be able to hold on, but Alberto Junior once again in a very good position to take 3rd away. Maybe a little bit too close going on to the start-finish straight, as he's now trying to look up the inside. This is very reminiscent of a battle Jason White was telling me about between him and Jason Whited in at this track last time we ran, where he was able to hold Whited off for quite a while. But there goes Alberto Junior back up into 3rd position with will soon be 6 laps to go as they cross the finish line. Wait, what? Really? Oh no, that can't be right! What? Oh dear me, 7 laps from the end of the race, Anders Nilsson has retired! Oh no! I can't believe it! Oh dearie me. And according to the incident report, it was due to the engine. So the engine in his Pat Patrick Racing Team car has given up the ghost with 7 laps to go, which means David Yunt, our clockwork Swiss, always consistent, always safe in his driving, is currently in the lead of this race, which means the battle for what will now be 2nd and 3rd will be able to go on for another 2 laps. Oh dearie me, I can't believe the bad luck of some of our drivers tonight. As Alberto Ibanez now goes up the inside of his son and takes second place. I suppose the one positive thing for Anders Nilsson is the fact that he'll get, I believe that will be 5th place, and he'll at least take away another, I believe, 500 or 600 points from this event. As Alberto Ibanez goes up the inside of his son into turn 3 and takes the position away once again, so second for the senior of the two at the moment. And Alberto actually taking a defensive line there, going into turn 1. Junior trying for the cutback, but the dirty air holds him back. Looks like both of them are driving right on the ragged edge of adhesion in this fight for 2 of the podium places. Looks like now Alberto Junior is taking it a little bit easy and waiting for the final lap to go for it, as it were. As they've now got, as they cross the finish line, 4 laps to go. When Alberto Junior with a great run into turn 1. Looking up the inside, Alberto Senior saw him coming and opened up the door just a little bit as to not have an incident, and Junior actually takes the position away. See if Senior can do anything going into the tunnel turn. He can't, so Junior in second at the moment. So 2 laps to go for this battle to be concluded. I must say this was definitely worth the wait for a hot contested battle on the track. Father and son going at it for second and third in this race. And I, for one, certainly have no idea who is going to win this particular battle. And I believe 2 laps to go. So this is the penultimate lap. Oh, Alberto Senior actually goes up the inside there. Takes second position away. You see David Yunt running on fumes by the looks of things. This may not be over yet in terms of the win. Alberto Junior doing his best here, actually runs up the inside and takes the position away going into the tunnel turn. And David Yunt has just started the final lap of this race. So Junior getting the best of his dad at the moment, but 1 more lap to go. Looks like Alberto Benitez has had a good run through turn 3. Here he comes, goes up the inside. And he runs too wide. Alberto Jr. goes up the inside once again. Oh, side by side coming off the turn. Who has the grunt? Looks like Alberto Jr. has it for the time being. But David Yunt coming through the final turn of the track. He will take the first Swiss win of this year's championship. Congratulations to David Yunt for that. And for second and third, Alberto Jr. is still ahead. Alberto Ibanez trying to get a run off the final turn. Not able to do it. Alberto Jr. taking second place in this race. I think he'll be extremely happy with that. In his first race for Roger Penske. Alberto Ibanez gets third, so Vels Jones Racing team in the end had a good race anyway. Third and fourth in this contest. Everyone else is a retiree, but to give you the placings anyway, Anders Nilsson will be scored in 5th, Hackman 6th, Marazzi 7th, Yannick 8th, Pagiola 9th, Yakes 10th, Bouchard 11th, and Wattman takes the final point in this race. Miller 13th, Cesar Schlapinski 14th, Juha Bos 15th, Porfirio Santos 16th, Bruno Pagiola 17th, David Sabre 18th, Ray Riddle 19th, Jukka Martin 20th, Peter Lavach 21st, and Eric Plana, our first lap retiree, 22nd. And a formation flying to finish off the race. Very, very neatly done indeed, boys. Nicely done. So yeah, quite the ending to the race there. Certainly very hectic with the final battle. Very nice to see father and son being able to run that close together.
User joined your channel.
As we are now joined, I believe, by Anders Nilsson. Anders, that was a great race for you, but heartache at the end.
Yeah, it was rough when I saw in the rearview mirrors that starting to get sparks of the engine, and it just poof, blew. And I was really careful with it in the end, not revving over 8,000. I mean, if I caught a draft, I lifted because I knew I abused it after the first pit stop. I didn't get a fuel, so I hardly got around a next lap. And then I lost a lap, so I pushed it really hard there for, I don't know, maybe 100 laps, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah. It was going from high to low boost. So, but it was rough, Jonathan. Oh, it was a long race, and I love these turning left things.
You have to, if you're going to go for 500 miles, you better like it.
Yeah, sure, Jason. Yeah, it was. I mean, I love fast corners, and it is fast corners. So, what more can I ask for? So.
User was moved to your channel.
I suppose so, as we're also joined by our second place finisher, Alberto Quino. Congratulations, Alberto.
Thanks, Great job, man.
Well done.
The captain will be happy with you.
Hopefully.
He'll be like, what happened to that what happened to first place? That'll be what he said. Oh.
Yeah, looked like you had a fairly quiet race there, Alberto, but had a great scrap with your dad at the end.
Yeah. He didn't want to put me things easy.
Well, that would be very appropriate for a big Al, little Al fight.
Yeah. If I'm not wrong, I think Alonso Jr. lost one championship because of his dad.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I can think back to the '92 Indy 500. There were a bunch of times where Al unlapped him. There were a couple times where he unlapped himself from little Al. He wasn't gonna stay back there. So.
Again,
But,
congratulations, Alberto. Really great drive.
Thank you. Also, congratulations to David Yunt, who's also here.
He's here, but his mic is off.
Yep.
Well, he's
There he
here,
is.
so congratulations, David, on winning this event. I would hazard to guess before the event you didn't expect to get the win.
No.
Well,
To be honest, I feel more like a thief right now. I kept repeating on my own stream. I was like, I don't deserve this, and I don't deserve this. It's like, there's like 3-4 rocket cars with Anders and David and Brian, and they flew off in the distance. I was like just content, well, during my race, like first with David Sabre, and it was like stationary, like 56 with Alberto Jr. and such, and it was going well. And then I was surprised to see Brian blow up when he was like, I don't know, quite uncatchable, and before David having an accident. And then I thought from the distance I saw something lit up in the front. I was like, that can only be Anders, but I was like, that can't be him. That can't be him. He's
It
so
was.
alone. And then I saw him slow down the back straight. So I was just I didn't know what to do. The thing was, I was actually counting on him to finish. I was 2 laps down, and my fuel was not enough. In the end, I like slowed down on the last lap and 3.7, and then I crossed the line with like a liter left. That's why I didn't come back in the end.
Good
Oh,
grief.
dearie me. Well, I noticed your pit crew was getting ready for a quick splash and dash, so that was true then that they were a bit worried about the situation.
Yeah, I decided like when I saw that my like second last lap with like 3.7 or something, and I had like 8th or some. It was very close. If I had gone full beans, that wouldn't have been enough. I was like, yeah, okay. If I slowed down now, it would be enough. I was just like thinking. I was just taking too long to think either pitting or not, and yeah. But to be honest, that's the least of the things. I mean, I more or less locked into this, and I mean, I don't want to. I did nothing really. I was just there. I survived somehow. Although I have to thank David Shakes for his advice again, because like at least the 4th gear was exactly like nowhere near 9,000, no 110 engine degree or anything. The car was just doing its laps, and that's all it did. And yeah, I finished. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
to win first you have to finish, as they say, and there's never been any more truth to that than tonight, I believe. Seeing as many had either crashes or engine issues. Final one to talk to Jason White. I expect this was a question of high mountains, a deep valley, and then another high mountain in the end.
Well, I had a lot of difficulty early on with washout behind cars. And it was just one of these things where I kept nicking the wall on the right-hand side. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep getting away with this, you know. And then finally, it's just like, it's cumulative. And finally, I hit the wall enough that my back wing came off. And I could sense that it had come off because the car started immediately turning into the wall. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So I kept it on the wall and brought it down. I spun a few times getting into the pits, but I was really lucky to not hit anything else. And then I had a very long stop. Fixed the car. From that point on, the car was fine. I mean, it was maybe a tiny bit slower because there was some other residual damage, but I noticed that I was catching Adam very quickly, not quickly enough to catch him by the end of the race. But I was like, well, since I have a car that's sound, I may as well try to run him down. So I managed to get a couple of those laps back, just by lapping as fast as I could. And then when I saw he had an issue at the end, I guess it was probably engine. I was like, well, all right. So I just backed the boost down, and that was it. But yeah, I think David and I were dragging our jaws on the ground on the back straight when we saw the black smoke, and I mean that's an awful way to lose a race, to dominate like that. I kept thinking in the back of my mind, 2 laps ahead, 3 laps ahead. I'm like, I don't know, he might have pushed too hard, and it's really tempting to use that boost to get around people. I only used the top end boost like twice, and that was to overtake people, and that was it. The rest of the time I was at mid range boost. So, but it would have been nice to have been up to scrap with these guys at the end. But I'll take 4th place because it's where I qualified, and it's mucho points for the championship. I'd like to move up the list if I can. So, but great job, David, staying in there. And if I'm right, this is another 500-mile race for your trophy case, to go with the Michigan 500 in another league, I believe. So.
I believe this is actually David's 3rd 500-mile win, so you're certainly turning into a bit of a 500-mile master here, David.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure about the master finishing. as you said, but I didn't make a good thing of being really. I was like happy. Like I think Anders was the main car by Patrick, so it would have been a 1-2, and like, that's crap way to go. But yeah, I think if you mean the 500, I think there was like that one photo finish with Jan Kowalski once.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, that was amazing. That was a great race.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks again. I'm really sorry, Anders. I'm really sorry. I was seeing you. No, it was yours. I mean, I was like.
No, when he was that far out in front, I said to myself quietly one time when I was doing a lap, I'm like, well, apparently STP is the racer's edge. But in David's case, it turned out all right. But this is one of the great things about IndyCar racing, though. Everyone still scores points down to 12th. So
indeed, so some pretty good points for Anders anyway, and likewise for others. So
and it tightens up the championship too, actually, because we had Jake's finishing in 10th, and Cesarius didn't score, so that really it keeps the points close. The real unfortunate one tonight was Ray, because he had an excellent opportunity to move up the list, and he didn't score, which is too bad. Because the 2 guys in front of him on the points chart weren't here. So
indeed.
But anyway, now we're going from high speed white knuckle stuff to low speed white knuckle stuff at Milwaukee.
Indeed, in the Tony Bettenhausen 200 in 3 weeks' time.
Probably going to be tooling around at the back waiting for things to happen.
So we'll see you all on the 4th of October for more USAC action. Next action you will catch here at the International Sim Racing Organization's YouTube channel will be the 1991 Portuguese Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
On the 27th. And
hosted by yours truly.
Indeed. So Jason White will be back in the booth, and we'll see. I have picked up a car for that championship, one of the low time, became free, so was one of those why leave a good car out of the grid. So we'll see. Me and Alberto may do a switch there, because I know Alberto Senior wants to drive, but we'll see how all that comes to be for the coming F1 events. Also on the 11th of October will be Grande Premio de España, the Spanish Grand Prix for that F1 championship. But see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show that we were able to put on. But yeah, until next time, good night, take care, and have a great time.